Aloha and thank you for joining us here on This Is Now. We have two big stories that emerged over the weekend. The Navy spy plane that went down in waters of Kaneohe Bay on November 20th has finally been recovered. We'll have an update on that in a moment.
But first, a major shakeup in Hawaii's aviation industry. Alaska Airlines announced their plans to acquire Hawaiian Airlines, leading to many questions over the future operations of the two companies. Now, the CEOs of the two airlines sat down with our Howard Dykes. They explained as much they could about the merger and what this means for the customers. Here's some of that interview.
How many office jobs could possibly be saved instead of having to go to Seattle after the merger concludes?
Well, I think that's something that that Ben and his team are going to look at over the next several months, and it's certainly one of the things people are concerned about. We knew it would be an emotional day when this was announced, and people would have a lot of thoughts rolling through their head. You know, one of the things I have to remind people is, for right now, nothing changes. We've got a regulatory review process that's going to take 12 to 18 months. We are still competitors, and we've got to remember that and keep behaving as competitors. And we need everybody to keep our airline operating at full. As the planning process goes on, I think Ben and his team are going to think about what roles they really need, because we do some things they don't do with our international flying in the Pacific. They don't do Neighbor Island. They don't do so they're going to need to have a big base out here, and we'll have more of those answers over the next several months, really.
Okay, and another thing I saw mentioned a lot is mileage plans, and it looks like some people need some reassurance that it's in your business interest to come up with a plan that ultimately doesn't mess with anybody.
I hope it actually becomes way stronger and way better. So people who have miles today under the Hawaiian program will keep all those miles as they transfer to the Alaska program. And I hope that with this combined network, with this broader loyalty program, being part of One World, having American Airlines as a partner, that those miles are even more valuable than they are today. So yeah, if people have miles today, the guarantee is that you'll keep those miles when the company combines.
You were doing this on a sub-rosa basis since the beginning of the year. At any point, could you get away with letting the unions know what you were doing?
And Peter alluded this to yesterday. These are very delicate conversations because our stocks are publicly traded. You have to be extremely careful that it's sensitive information that can cause stock price changes. So we had to keep it extremely confidential.
Yeah, a lot of it would actually have been illegal for you to.
It would have been illegal. You kind of go to jail for doing that type of stuff. So we really had to keep it tight. We really wanted to share with our folks, but to protect them, to protect families and friends, we had to keep it in a really tight circle until we had inked a deal.
We were talking earlier about how new an idea it is to keep both brands. In Europe, of course, that's been successfully done by at least 3 of the major European airline groups. But in reading Facebook this morning, I noticed a lot of locals found a different precedent, and that was the CVS acquisition of Long's, where they decided that in Hawaii only they would keep the Long's brand.
Well, when we looked at this, again, it's early in 2023, we made that decision early on that if we were going to proceed, we didn't see a world where Hawaiian Airlines wouldn't exist. The brand, just because where we come from in the state of Alaska, we know how precious the brand is in the Pacific Northwest and the state of Alaska, and what it means to the communities there. So as we looked at this, we said, look, there's just no way if we were going to proceed with this that we could not see that brand operating in the future. So we made that decision early on. We think it is integral to the success for the communities, for employees, and really for the success of the combined airlines.
Now, travelers on Hawaiian and Alaska Airlines won't notice changes anytime soon. One aviation industry expert who spoke with our Annalisa Burgos says the news comes at the tail end of a rocky period for Hawaiian.
Aviation analyst Peter Foreman tells me the Alaska-Hawaiian airline merger comes at a good time, with Hawaiian Air still recovering from technical breakdowns earlier this year and Alaska looking to expand its international offerings.
They're a formidable airline, so I think it gives them a much better standing in the long-term growth and survival in this really tough business.
And it's been a tough year for Hawaiian Airlines. After 18 years as the #1 airline for on-time performance, it fell to number 5 in 2022. Earlier this year, system upgrades caused massive meltdowns that delayed flights and stranded hundreds of customers.
Alaska will come in and they will fix the things that are broken and, maintain the things that are right with Hawaiian Airlines, which is, maintaining that individual identity to and from Hawaii, keep that great service going, the best safety record of any airline, and a really attractive reputation as far as the airline to fly when you want to come to Hawaii.
Probably top of mind for the employees, right? Is where's the redundancies in any kind of acquisition? Is there a worst case scenario that people should be bracing for?
No, I don't think so, because so much of Hawaiian's strength is the international flying. They need wide body airplanes. Alaska doesn't have that, so they really are depending upon Hawaiian, its airplanes, and crews to do the vast majority of the heavy lifting. Alaska has the Boeing 737 is their baby, and so you're going to see that airplane in the long run integrate into maybe inter-island or some of the shorter runs, maybe replace some of the 321 flying.
Foreman says Alaska's offer of $18 a share is nearly 4 times the value of Hawaiian's, an indication it's undervalued.
Our stock price has been low over the last 5 years because of a variety of things that have happened, fare wars, inter-island, and that type of thing. If Alaska's paying that much for it, they have big plans for the airline.
So to what extent do you think this type of merger was needed in order to combat Southwest Airlines?
Now, Southwest sees Hawaiian as a smaller airline that, would give in at some point to the fare wars on inter-island. And now with the financial backing of Alaska Air Group, it's, it's no longer one big airline against a small airline. It's 2 big airlines against each other. So it's a much more even playing field now. Don't expect anything to happen right away. It's going to be a very slow process, and it's mostly going to be things happening behind the scenes. But remember, there's still very much competition.
Upgrades to technology and aircraft can help both carriers better compete. But while those changes are on the radar, the merger itself could take up to 18 months to complete. Annalisa Burgos, Hawaii News Now.
And now to our other top story from the weekend. The Navy says they have recovered the plane that's been sitting on a bed of coral in Kaneohe Bay for the last several days. Our Casey Lund has the update.
Aloha from Marine Corps Base, Hawaii here on the runway, and you can see that P-8A Poseidon aircraft, not a small plane by any means, and that is why some of the work that went into this was pretty extensive. We heard from military officials earlier today about what it took to get that out of the water on Saturday. That operation started Saturday morning. It took about 13 hours to get that onto roller bags, up and then back on the tarmac. Amazingly, the landing gear, we're told, is still intact and undamaged. The Navy officials say they hope to eventually get that plane back into service. Of course, it will be a while. They're still looking into exactly how this all unfolded on Monday, November 20th. We did hear, though, from the commanding officer for Marine Corps Base Hawaii, Colonel Jeremy Bevan, who says the work that his teams were able to do with state partners like Hawaii's DLNR, the Division of Aquatic Resources, to assess any damage that happened at the end of the runway where that plane ended up here in Kaneohe Bay was really an accomplishment, and a big part of that was the teamwork and what they were able to do together to get into the water after the plane was out on Sunday, assess any damage to the reef. Take a listen to what he said earlier at a press conference today here on base.
I'm incredibly pleased with what has been accomplished, but more importantly, the way in which it was accomplished. As I said last week, on several occasions, my expectations since the very beginning of this incident was that anything that we did was going to be thoughtful, it was going to be measured, and we were going to have robust conversation about what we were going to do with an eye towards both safety, but also towards the environment to mitigate the effects to the degree possible.
We also heard from Kim Fuller. She's with the DLNR Division of Aquatic Resources. She says the impact zone to the reef was actually smaller than the size of the aircraft, though their initial assessment shows there was, of course, some damage to the reef here, but the full extent isn't known just yet. They still have quite a bit of work. They were able to get in the water, though, on Sunday with those military divers to try and get a closer look. It had about 2.5 hours to do that. They say there's still quite a bit of work left to do when it comes to seeing just how much damage may have been done. But the good news that we heard from base leaders here this morning was that from the time that aircraft went into the water here in Kaneohe Bay to right now, there were no contaminants detected. They also, as a precautionary measure, put some of those booms, those absorbent materials in the water here, as well as at Coconut Island, again, just as a precaution, making sure that all of the resources out there were protected. We know that they will have to modify some of the runway operations here, but we're told that those modifications won't really seriously impact things on base as far as aircraft operations are concerned. Of course, the investigation, as I mentioned, into exactly how this all unfolded 2 weeks ago is still ongoing. We'll keep you updated as we learn more online and on air throughout the day. Reporting at Marine Corps Base, Hawaii, I'm Casey Lund. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Meanwhile, in international news, the Air Force says wreckage and the remains of 5 crew members aboard the U.S. Osprey aircraft that crashed near Japan last week have now been found. The discovery comes after the body of one victim was recovered and identified as Jacob Gallagher of Pittsfield, Massachusetts on Saturday. The Air Force said 2 of the 5 remaining bodies were retrieved, and divers are working to recover the remains of the other 3 crew members. None of those whose remains were found on Monday have been identified so far. Meanwhile, the search for the 2 other crew members on board is still ongoing. The Osprey aircraft was carrying 8 Americans when it crashed off Yakushima Island during a training mission last Wednesday.
Los Angeles police are holding a suspect in a series of murders that suggests a serial killer was targeting homeless people. Elise Preston has more on the investigation.
We announced there was a killer on the loose. Now he is in custody.
With accused murder suspect Jared Powell under arrest, Los Angeles police are now investigating to see if there are any other victims.
Based on his criminal history, he didn't just start doing this a week ago.
Police believe Powell shot and killed 3 homeless men on November 26th, 27th, and 29th. On November 28th, police say Powell shot and killed a 4th man, Nicholas Simbolin, during a robbery at his home. According to investigators, they identified a vehicle at that scene and used automatic license plate reading technology to locate the car and arrest its driver, 33-year-old Powell, a Los Angeles resident.
Over the course of our investigation of our murders, we were able to identify the vehicle we believe connected to our 3 homicides as being the same vehicle Mr. Powell used in the murder of Mr. Simbolin.
Police say they also found a handgun inside the car, which they believe has been tied to all 4 shootings.
It breaks our hearts that when we find out that, these people that we work with on a daily basis are getting attacked.
Elise Preston, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The United States Supreme Court heard oral arguments Monday in a controversial opioid settlement that would give immunity to the Sackler family who owned Purdue Pharma. Now, Purdue Pharma, which introduced OxyContin, was at the center of the opioid crisis. The settlement is worth $6 billion. It could compensate victims and help fight the opioid epidemic while protecting members of the Sackler family from current and future opioid-related civil lawsuits. The question for the High Court Monday was whether the settlement complies with federal bankruptcy code. Liberal and conservative justices alike had tough questions for the Justice Department, which is challenging the plan. Some justices pointed out that the agreement has the backing of an overwhelming majority of people who would potentially bring civil suits against the family.
Many Maui fire survivors have been bounced around from hotels to condos, but now a new program could help offer some stability. In an effort to help Maui survivors who were ineligible for FEMA aid, the state is launching a rental assistance program that will help house fire victims for up to a year. The $2.5 million program will connect survivors with available housing like Airbnbs, households that have been identified as FEMA ineligible and are in need of housing will be contacted directly by state officials.
Over on Maui, the Department of Hawaiian Homelands has awarded 25 agriculture lots in Kahiki Nui. It's part of the department's Kuleana program. The program was created in 1999 to fulfill the community's wants to be stewards of the land. The department's agricultural leases provide lands for ranching and gives beneficiaries the opportunity to build a home.
The department is going to start to also be more actively involved in not only providing financing, but assistance on the house construction. So it's an exciting time.
The lots range in size from 10 to 16 acres.
All right, let's take a live look outside with our tower cam. This is looking over Honolulu where it's 79 degrees. Your weather headlines are the trade winds making a comeback, plus some huge surf is on the way. Guy Hagi is going to have your full forecast after this quick break.
How's it on this Monday? It's going to be a beautiful week of weather. There's not going to be much in the way of rainfall, no significant systems anywhere close. However, there's a strengthening high pressure up to the north, and because of that, trade winds will be getting stronger. So if anything, rain-wise, we'll see a few overnight and early morning showers for a handful of windward spots, similar to what we see this morning. Rainfall totals, however, will be insignificant. We'll see lots of sunshine over the next several days. For today, we've got lots of leeward sunshine, maybe a few morning showers for the Hilo side and for Lihue, but otherwise rainfall will be very, very sparse for the next few days. But the surf, though, we'll have a surplus of surf. The current swell is on the way down, but starting tonight, we've got a warning level swell that will be building. A life-threatening situation will be developing for most north and west shores starting tonight, and that swell will likely hang firm all the way through Wednesday. And townside, east side, relatively small. So this is what we're looking at for the next 7 days. Lots of sunshine. The winds, however, will be getting stronger. Starting today, they'll come up to 10 to 20. Stronger Tuesday and Wednesday. It's going to be quite breezy on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then another approaching front is going to push away those trade winds. We'll see some spotty showers with more humid conditions when Kona winds take over Thursday and Friday. And then over the weekend, the light trade winds will make their way back.
Last night marked the 46th annual Kennedy Center Honors, which will air on CBS December 27th. It's always an iconic group, and this year is no exception. Here's a look at the big event.
I say a little prayer for you. This year's Kennedy Center Honors began with recognition for music legend Dionne Warwick, including a performance of her classic I Say a Little Prayer by 2022 honoree Gladys Knight. Producer Clive Davis, a longtime collaborator of Warwick's, heralded her as someone whose talent was simply undeniable.
The lexicon of her hits is as great and as deep as any artist who has ever recorded.
Comic relief lets you show off your talents, riding a horse while you battle Jack Palance.
2018 honoree Lin-Manuel Miranda launched the tributes to comedian and actor Billy Crystal by channeling Crystal's 9 times hosting the Academy Awards.
Making us laugh on that show with 3 letters, courting Meg Ryan in cable knit sweaters.
And Meg Ryan didn't miss a chance to roast her When Harry Met Sally co-star over that one famous scene.
I've actually never been around anyone who made faking an orgasm easier.
As we celebrate 50 years of hip-hop, Queen Latifah became the first female rapper to receive Kennedy Center honors with a musical tribute for the ages, featuring other greats like Yo-Yo, MC Lyte, and Moni Love. Plus, a touching speech from another hip-hop giant, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Missy Elliott.
But what Latifah has taught us, Queen Latifah, forgive me, is unity, to believe in yourself, and to love a black woman from infinity to infinity.
Internationally acclaimed opera singer Renee Fleming, known as America's soprano, was also recognized Sunday with a vocal quartet performing an aria for which she became famous, Song to the Moon. Rounding out the honorees was the last surviving Bee Gee, Barry Gibb, who also wrote numerous chart-topping hits for other prominent artists, including fellow honoree Dionne Warwick. And the ceremony ended with a mashup of Gibb's greatest hits, performed by Academy Award winner Ariana DeBose.
Vladimir Dutip, CBS News.
Time for some good news now. Thousands of families here on Oahu lined the streets of downtown Honolulu for the annual City Lights celebration. The grand tree was lit and there was a fantastic electrical parade. Our Jonathan Masaki has the story.
Merry Christmas! Those 2 words say it all, and this countdown marks the beginning of it all. The holiday season has officially begun now that the lights are on at Honolulu Hale.
So tonight is one of those special moments that we celebrate together. Young kids and families enjoying the holiday magic. Teens laughing with their friends. Young couples making new memories together. And older couples still making memories together.
The annual Honolulu City Lights drawing thousands to the heart of the city, with so many coming for so many different reasons. So what's the best part of this event?
And what is your favorite part?
The food. I definitely like to see the trees the most. I like to see all the individual decorations and everything.
I like to see all the lights and all the people wearing Christmas clothes.
Do you guys come every year?
Oh yes, since I was this age.
And why do you like coming?
Because it's a festive. It brings out the morale to start the new year. That's what my tutor man taught us.
So many different reasons to celebrate the season, but obviously a good time was being had by all.
Merry Christmas! That was our Jonathan Masaki reporting. And over on Kauai, there was the Lights on Rice parade Friday night. Now, thankfully, the weather held up and it turned out to be a beautiful night with not a single drop of rain in sight. There were over 60 entrants in the parade, which brings together the Kauai community. Thousands lined the route from Vidina Stadium to Kauai's county building in Lihue. It all culminated in the front of the county building with the Festival of Lights, in which all of the trees are so intricately illuminated. So much fun to see Kauai as well celebrating their holiday season
Two
there.
great events.
Yes.
I think we have time for one more story. So a Guinness World Record attempt for the number of couples kissing under the mistletoe fell a little short this past weekend.
Oh,
The
shucks.
North Texas charity Jingle Bell Mistletoe set the record in 2018 with 340 couples kissing, but another group surpassed them. Yesterday's event did not break any records, but it still raised more than $87,000 for the North Texas Food Bank.
The category is things you can do now that COVID is done.
Sure.
As long as you're kissing your significant other, don't kiss a stranger.
I mean, if you're breaking records.
Yeah, okay.
And you
It's for
don't
a
have
good
a
cause.
significant other.
It's for a good cause. Let's end today with a live look outside over beautiful Honolulu. We thank you so much for joining us right here on This Is Now.
See ya.